Leute, so sieht's Mittagessen aus in in Hirtshals, ne? Also unser Fähre dürfte um 18 Uhr fahren, aber jetzt haben wir erfahren, wir werden hier bis 21:15 Uhr bleiben und I doubt it. Schau mal, wir essen auf dem Boden, weil es so geil ist.
Ob es euch auch so gut geht?
I doubt it. Also das ist das, ja. So ist das Leben. So one of the characteristics of the Viking ships was to have a figurehead, and what we're seeing here is a figurehead from one of the Viking ships, which is just a female figure, and previously it used to be like a lion head or... On this episode of Across All Borders through Northern Europe on rails, arriving Norway, 2 days in Kristiansand. On 14th of August 2020, I got ready, packed my bags, hopped on a bus from Aalborg, the last city I visited in Denmark, on the way to Hirtshals, which is a port city where you can take a ferry to enter Norway. Now, when I got there, I found out my ferry had been delayed for 3 hours. So I decided to find a way to pass time, and as you could have seen from the intro, I met another German traveler, and we just sat on the floor and ate and waited for time to come that we could go in. Part of the way to kill the time was charging both my phones. So I plugged it as we got into the ferry building, and then because we were busy chatting this and that, I literally forgot my phones in the ferry port building, and I didn't realize this until the ferry started pulling away. I had this sinking feeling. I was like, oh my God, I forgot both phones. So I was really panicked, and I said, okay, what can I do? I found one of the ferry staff, so this was the Fjord Line cruise, and I asked them if they could please call their colleagues in the building to go look for my phones, because I just left it and I know they would still be there. So they called, the lady went, she got them. I was like relieved, and I was like, okay, next challenge, how do I get the phones over to Norway? And they promised me that they were coming the next day and they're gonna bring it for me. I had to make peace with that because there was nothing else I could do. Because of the delay, we were arriving past midnight. The next challenge was getting to my Airbnb, which wasn't central. So I got lucky enough that I could power up my computer, reach out to my Airbnb host, who had already prior informed that I was coming in late, and he offered to pick me up. So I say grand entrance because like everybody was really helping me get out of a tight situation. The 3 hours delay, meaning coming in past midnight, and my host was picking me up. The staff from the Fjord Line that picked up my phone and was sending it the next day. I was like, oh my God, all of this could have gone bad, but because I got lucky to be at the right place, the right time when something like this would happen, it went a lot better than it could have gone somewhere else. So I got picked up by my host, and his accommodation is a family house where his kids grew up, and it's really eco-friendly, the whole power source and everything, and he had an electric car. It was really nice being there, and then the next morning he drove me to town and then left me so I could pick up my phones and then explore. So basically, let's talk about Kristiansand. Kristiansand is called the smiling city of the south, and it is the southernmost city in Norway. It's actually one of the warmest cities in Norway, so much so that people go there for their summer holidays, and they have a white sandy beach, an outdoor pool area, so aquarama. So in terms of what you can do in Kristiansand, there's a lot. There are art museums, there's the fish market, there are quite a number of things you can do. What I got about doing was, as usual, walking around the city, and then I went to Oderaya, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. This is a recreational center that was formerly a naval base. So I walked around there and it was really cool. And for my second day, and I think for me the most exciting part of my visit was actually going to the Kristiansand Museum, which is an open air museum
that has over 34 very old buildings that takes you back to Norway in the 1500s, as far back as 1580. It is amazing. You've got farm buildings, you've got, courtyards, you've got apartments in the later century. It is, wow, it is a very nice thing to do, and you just get transported back in time. So I spent that day just exploring this place, and I can wholeheartedly recommend it. After that, caught my train heading over to Stavanger. Let's check this out. Oh my God.
So guys, talk about flat sharing in the 1700s. So in the 1700s, 12 people lived in this space. Later in the 1800s, about 20, and further later down the century, about 19. So they do know a bit about cozy flat sharing back in the days. So one of the characteristics of the Viking ships was to have a figurehead, and what we're seeing here is a figurehead from one of the Viking ships, which is just a female figure. And previously it used to be like a lion head or some other animal head, but the ship started getting raided for its figurehead, so that it was then changed just to simple symbols to signify the name of the Viking ship. And this one is a figurehead, a female statue from an unknown Viking ship. So, welcome to a typical farm setting in Setesdal, is that it? which is like about 250 miles away from Kristiansand in the valley. So these cabins that you're seeing here are typical of a farm in Norway from the valley. They are made from whole timber pieces, and it's a classic Viking building style. What you will notice is that there's several buildings on this farm, and every building has its own function. So you will find that this is a storage building for foodstuff, and some others are separated for things like the barn, the animals, and also in the barn the children sleep there. If we turn around a bit to this particular building, this is a more modern way of building the farmhouses, where they've changed the frontal facade of the building to be a bit more modern. Otherwise you have the classical old style of it being this building right here, which would be used for storage as well, and the one right next to it is the sleeping, or the house where most of the people working there would sleep. Most times the buildings are built in two rows. The first row containing the houses where people are, and the second row containing where the houses, animals are housed. The reason being the two rows is that the rows where the humans are staying actually face the river, so they get a good view, and the other one is just for the animals. So this is a typical village as far back as the 1700s, and these buildings have been moved here to recreate a farm. Actually not a village, but a typical farm from as far back as 1700 in Norway. So guys, this is what you would consider the modern day one-room apartment, but it is from a Setesdal farm from 1641. So in this room you literally have your bed, the kitchen, which is right in the middle, and serves sort of also like a heating for the houses. And here you have two beds. I'm told that the children on such farms do not sleep in the main house, they sleep in the barn. So here you've got for eating, for sleeping, but for parents and grandparents. And this house was in use till 1905. So I might as well make my own version of the Vikings inside here, but this is an old farmhouse. And typically you would have up to 10 buildings at one farm, or even sometimes 40 buildings, every building having a different function. So you might be wondering why the bed is so short. Well, one very basic reason for it is that in the traditional religion and belief, it is said that only someone who is dead should lie down straight. So when they slept, they sat up sleeping, because when you're lying down straight, it's easy for your soul to escape. So while sleeping, the bed is made in such a way that you cannot lie down completely straight, which is why it is short. And they had a lot of pillows to prop against their back to be able to sleep while sitting. So as we mentioned before, the kids slept in the barn, were in the barn, and you can see the different stalls. And up here is the loft area where the children slept. It's not a lot of luxury, but you have steps to go up, and that's the sleeping area.
litt videre og se om du finner noe annet å se på meg til dere sånn.
Ja.
Ja, så skal vi få se. Du kan gå sånn her.
I do hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Yours truly, Liesel81.